as a direct result of some of those issues that have come out of Brexit and have come out of the pandemic, because the UK manufacturing has embraced automation so much more.
Definitely doubled in turnover of the robots.
You know, we've got a pool of skilled people. We're just robbing one person for the next.
Welcome to the MTD podcast. I'm Giovanni Albanese, hosting today's show, a passionate engineer and a very proud member of the MTD team. Today we are at the UK headquarters of Hydrafeed UK, a UK manufacturer and supplier of automated solutions. It's a lovely sunny day at the headquarters, and the last time we did a podcast with Hydrafeed was in the midst of a pandemic. Today we're joined again by Martyn Page, the director at Hydrafeed and an ambassador for engineering. Welcome again to the MTD podcast.
Thank you, Gio.
And thank you for having us at your facility today.
You're more than welcome, sir.
We're also with Ash, sales director at Hydrafeed and a real ambassador for automation and everything to do with automation. Welcome again to the MTD podcast, Ash.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing, all right?
Yeah, well, good.
Well, we'll catch up with you and go into lots more detail shortly, but we're also joined by the one and only Lyndsey Vickers.
Oh, hello, Gio. Gio, I'm fascinated because you don't like saying your H's, do you? And this is a company that you struggle to...
How did I get on?
Did
I miss them?
Did you do okay, Martyn?
It was okay. It was the Italian twice. We'll accept that. We love Italy. Gio's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to kind of go back in time to when we recorded the podcast during the midst of the pandemic. It was a lot different back then, and we were kind of speculating on how the market was going to change. We were looking into the future. We were predicting a lot of things, and some of our predictions, if we listen to that podcast again, have actually come true. So firstly, Martyn, to you, how has your business changed and evolved in the last 2 years, and what have been the biggest challenges to you guys at Hydrafeed?
Well, that's a big question. Okay, so if we go back to those couple of years ago, starting off in the pandemic, and we thought we had lots of the answers then, but we didn't. What's different now is that there's a little bit more clarity going forward. The challenges that we're faced with are uncertain. There's not predictability within our business. Shipping costs, supply chains, what we hear on the news about the lack of skilled staff is seriously affecting us. Brexit, all of those things, we're not immune from any of that. We're doing our best to work through it, and we're doing a very good job. It's better now because we do have rules and regulations and detail in place to help us charter these waters, but they're still very much uncharted from a day-to-day basis. There's always that, continue with the metaphor, that curveball that comes at you that you really don't expect, whether or not it's a massive increase in material or shipping or component shortage or lead times on parts. We've been more fortunate than lots of companies in as much that we've got working capital that we can use to secure components and product that we need to put into our equipment. And that's helped us tremendously. The business has changed as a direct result of some of those issues that have come out of Brexit and have come out of the pandemic, because the UK manufacturing has embraced automation so much more, which is what we're seeing with the robot side of the business. When we met originally in the middle of the pandemic, we were talking to people who were purchasing possibly their first robot. We're now seeing those same customers coming back for their second and third. And those early uptakers, those innovators, pioneers, whatever label you want to put to them, that originally took that risk to purchase, let's face it, relatively expensive automation, are now reaping the benefits of it, and other companies are looking to do the same, which is good news for us. And we at Hydrafeed are having to change tremendously with different levels of management here, more engineers, increase our field-based team, and that change is going to continue for the next, at least the next couple of years, until we get into a more mature market.
And growth, you mentioned robots, Martyn, and just coming to you, Ash, really, what kind of growth have you seen in the Robo Job sales that you predominantly focus on?
I mean, we've definitely doubled in turnover of the robots and the number of installs that we're doing. As Martyn says, we're employing new people. COVID has escalated the growth of automation, and it's put a bit more of an urgency especially on engineering workshops. And I think the biggest driver at the moment we're finding is skilled staff. It's turning into a bit of a bidding war at times, and people are purchasing more capable machinery, 5-axis machines, B-axis machines that enable fairly complex parts that you don't necessarily have to make complex parts, but you want to keep a machine like that running. Yeah, and I certainly think we knew that automation was going to grow, but COVID has grown it quicker, hasn't it? It's escalated quicker.
A lot of people have said that when people have had that just a little bit of time away from the business over COVID, they've been able to, I guess, reassess what they're doing. And it's interesting, and I know I told you this earlier, but when I was down at MCNC, Leith was telling me exactly what you're saying, Ashley, is the fact that, you know, we've got a pool of skilled people and we're just robbing one person for the next. And you guys, when we walked in, you were telling us the cost per hour that some of these skilled people are asking for, and straight away, I don't know whether it's for me to promote on here or not, but straight away, Gio, you could not believe the price that people were paying per hour and demanding nowadays, couldn't you? So that's a big change.
That's not doing anyone in our industry any good whatsoever.
Well, what effect is that going to have?
It's simply going to put costs up for everyone.
Yeah.
Because if we're paying an hourly rate for a man to stand in front of a machine or program a machine, what our industry needs to do is to attract youngsters into it, to grow that skill stuff. And to some extent, the automation allows operators and programmers to be paid more. Certainly, I appreciate that, because you're using 70% of their time is probably done with repetitive tasks. If you can remove that repetitive, dangerous task and give it to a robot, you can let that man do more creative work. One man operating 3 or 4 machines. You can do the maths there. It increases flexibility, profitability. You can pay a man more money, but we still need more people to come into our industry.
Yeah. Billy downstairs, who's operating one of your machines, it was interesting. He was saying, like, he'd have one really busy day setting up the machine, and then the other day, all he needs to do is concentrate and maintain that machine, and then he's off looking at inspection. He's off offline on another VMC or something, offline programming. So that's kind of what's lacking then. You know, not everyone's embracing it yet. So then what's lacking? What people need to learn? I
think that we had a podcast or a technical corner recently where you were addressing a lot of the barriers to entry. And I think that the adoption of automation, I mean, we were at the Fanuc House, recently, and I heard a statement that I could not believe. The adoption of automation in the UK has increased, but the gap in regards to the growth has shrunk or increased from Europe. So, I mean, we are breaking down barriers to entry, but why are we still behind, Ash, in your opinion? And what can we do more?
A lot of this, I suppose, a lot of promoting and why you should automate. But I do think sometimes there's a lot talking about why you should automate, and it's very top level when it needs to be a bit more industry specific, a bit more actually what does it look like, how does it work? And that's one thing that we can actually show you, which is fantastic, is what the product looks like, what you're actually doing with it in real life, and how you can see it implemented to within your workshop, because we don't automate everything and anything. We just automate machine tools.
I think that's a really good point, really, absolutely bang on, really, because I think that it needs to be real life solutions, doesn't it, Ash? And it's all about education.
Can you tell us some, I mean, this is what this podcast is all about. Can you tell us some products that maybe that you've been impressed with out there, like a case study where what someone was doing before and what they're doing now and how you've transformed their business?
Use us if you want.
Yeah.
Look at the robots that we've invested in. I mean, we like to think we practice what we preach to some extent. Look at the jobs that we now do.
For sure, that the machine that we had prior that wasn't automated, it's doing the work of 4 to 5 machines.
Really?
Manned.
Wow.
And from a factory owner, there's nothing more enjoyable than shutting the door and leaving those machines running efficiently all night, every night.
Yeah,
it does make a terrific difference.
There's so many other benefits that come that are sometimes hidden, where it depends upon the business to business. If you're making your own products or you're a subcontractor, then effectively, if you're making your own products, you would think you've got a bit of foresight in planning. Yeah. Maybe yes, maybe you don't, but it enables certainly the planning side of it with the automation that helps every factory workshop. And I think everybody is understanding that planning in a workshop's difficult because you can't always cater for people being off, breakdowns, anything really. I mean, it's common to sort of split batches and bits and bobs like that, isn't it? And nobody wants to split batches. If you're a subcontractor, then you haven't costed the job to set up twice. And
Gio, you asked what the barriers were to automation. Let me ask you something, Ashley. You're the face of Hydrafeed in terms of sales director of the robot side of it. My opinion has always been that the UK ethos has been how little can we pay this man to stand in front of a machine to operate it, and how cheap can we buy this machine. It's always been a cost basis thing. So, but now, are you finding that you still have to break those barriers down, or are the UK now beginning to take that uptake of automation to the level where mainland Europeans are? I mean, the statistics are quite frightening in man to machine to robot in Germany, but we're still lacking way behind. What I'm asking, are you going into companies and still saying, are you still being confronted with that? Low labour in front of a machine as opposed to automation?
Not so much, but I suppose, a bit. And I think people's reasons to want to automate are always very different. But I mean, a lot of it is about, as you say, the labour's increasing. But if you want to think about a batch of workers labour-free, or if you want to think about the workers, for our example, it used to take us 4 weeks to get a full batch of a certain amount of product, which probably break down between now. Instead of the 4 weeks, we're now making it in 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
So the actual margin that we put back into that individual machined piece, going from 4 weeks now to 3 days, has had not only released capacity, we need less man hours on the part, we possibly don't need a second shift. And it's really beneficial back to the business.
I mean, Hydrafeed are automation specialists. Martyn, you started the business you were a founder of the business many years ago. You've evolved from the short bar feeder. You've got lots of automated solutions. We've been reviewing ourselves some of them solutions today, and we'll touch upon what we think of the products and the solutions. Me and Lyndsey have reviewed the long bar feeder, the X-Files, and the Robo Job that's running downstairs. What I want to get at now really is you've got a large portfolio of automated products for lots of different applications and solutions, and there are lots of automated solutions that are available out there. Why do you believe, is it the service support as well as the technology in your products that people are coming to you? I mean, the growth that you mentioned, Ash, earlier in regards to the sales of the Robo Job is staggering, and we're still falling behind. Or are you winning a bigger portion of a smaller pie in the UK? Is it a mixture? Is it a bit of both?
Could be, yeah. I suppose it is a bit of both, yeah. Growth has been down to us. I think a lot of it is we're able to provide the full solution. So we will leave you cutting metal. We don't leave you with any integration. We don't leave you with figure out your own work holding. We will work with you to make sure, show us your parts. We'll work with your chosen work holding company, or we'll hold your hand and walk you through the different options that might make sense for your 5-axis, 3-axis, or if it's a 4th axis perpendicular to the table, just anything that you might think is beneficial to your products, or an existing method that you make it in and you don't want to change that method, we'll adopt a way around it for you. So, and
there's a lot of knowledge and expertise that comes with that. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, we rely on technical partners as well. So
I've got a bit of a controversial question. If we've been out on the road, I'm not going to name names, but people who have got their own automation will sell it. They're all encompassing. There's only one person that you need to go to. How do you fight that argument, whomever's ready to answer that? But how they'll say it's all under one roof. If there's a problem, you're not going to a third party. How do you attack that out in the marketplace? If someone says, I'm going to buy this machine, but they've got their own automation, so it's easier. What's your argument? I
mean, the product that we've got is...
sorry about that.
No, it's a good question, because I think that we're impartial. So there's certainly... we can automate any machine tool. So it's not just about that one.
I don't think that we have to make that argument, because I think what you've just said there, we do. I'm thinking about your question there.
I think I know the answer.
Well, you're entitled to...
Strangely, I think you've answered it to me this morning when you said what you're doing is you've been specialists, and this would be my argument on a video with them, is the fact that you're specialists and have been doing it, over 7 years now, say in particular with some of the bar feeders. In 7 years, you've come a long way and you've learned the highs and the lows. And you're already at a state where you're at the forefront. Whereas a lot of them have only just started in this technology. So you're 7 years ahead. So then in another couple of years, you're still going to be 9 years ahead and they're going to still be behind. So it's almost like, what have you learned along the way that keeps you ahead of the game? There's another question for you if anyone wants to ask that one.
And we're not going to tell you that.
There you go. There's your
Company
secret.
secrets. No, I think you're right. That's an interesting observation, and you're quite right. The truth of that is that, yes, we have had it around about 7 years, but we didn't do anything purposely in the first 6 to 8 months purely so that we were knowledgeable on the product. We were aware of the product, and we had our engineers here, our own engineers. We don't use subcontract engineers that we were trained with, so that we had some hand-holding from Robo Job in the first instances, but we had a fairly intense period of training with them. We've now got 3 robot installation engineers with a support team around them of 5 others. So what we're finding now is that our bar feed engineers will overlap with the robot engineers to go in and do some of the mechanical work. Then the robot engineers can come in and do the final settings and all the more involved intricate stuff. That's really where we are. Yes, along that path, Lyndsey, there have been some serious issues that we've overcome. And to some extent, Ashley has made some very good points about earlier today about managing our customers' expectations. Yeah. We all have to remember that whether or not we're 5 or 6 years into it, it is still a new and evolving market for the UK. As you've inferred, Gio, that the UK hasn't embraced it properly in the way that the mainland Europe has. Mm-hmm. And it's managing those customers' expectations to walk in to say to a customer, we can do this for you. We or he will immediately get, well, if it will do that, can we do this? And will it be able to do this? And what we'd like, why can't it do that? We're having to learn ourselves and then pass that education on to our customers.
And it's not just one machine. It's multiple machines, multiple brands, different sizes and shapes of machines. And I think that's where you've got a kind of upper hand as well, is that you're dealing with so many different companies.
Well, it's as Ashley said in his answer to your question, it's our impartiality that is our strength. We don't and can't have open houses at Hydrafeed. We've been asked on a number of occasions by OEM companies, can we have an open house? Well, we can't really. Who are we going to invite? If we invite one particular brand of manufacturers, customers here, we can't invite others, and it becomes very, very difficult. Yeah. The strength remains impartiality.
I want to touch on the products now, Martyn, and that's a really good point in regards to your partners, in regards to the OEMs. And for our listeners that are listening to this podcast, if you look up Hydrafeed and look at the products that they do, we touched on the Robo Job. We've got the short bar feeders that you actually manufacture yourself, and now you've also got another solution with the long bar feeder that we've reviewed today, and we'll touch on that review in a bit, Lyndsey, in regards to what we've found and our opinions on that particular solution. But let's start with the Robo Job now. You mentioned that you can supply any machine tool, but you're also supplying a lot of legacy machine tools, because obviously you're not just selling to brand new machine tools, are you, Ash? You know, people that have got existing machines want to automate now, and albeit, in my opinion, I think that we're still a long way behind Europe. We've certainly come a long way to where we were 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think that the UK is embracing automation yet, and it's through the hard work of companies such as yourself that's the case. So let's start with the Robo Job, Ash, in regards to why should people buy a Robo Job to, feed a lathe, a 3-axis machine, a 5th-axis machine? Tell us some of the USPs.
Sell your heart out.
Yeah. Well, again, everybody's slightly different with what they want from the system. So do they want the flexibility? Do they want that stable process? Do they actually just want a certain amount of time unmanned? So everybody has a different want. Again, going back to whatever you're making, so if you make your own product, it's probably more straightforward to create that stable process, because you don't want to be sort of automating scrap at the end of the day, do you? So I certainly find that the UK is split into people that make their own products and people that are a subcontractor. Either of those So subcontractor wants the flexibility with the product, and they want to be able to match up the robot with the machine tool that it's with, and match the capabilities effectively. So you want to be able to throw anything at that particular lathe, if you like, that's possible. So I think, it's easy to sell it when you know audiences and tailor what you're discussing around those guys, because it's pointless me just sort of talking about something that isn't relevant to their application.
But the Robo Job, from what you're saying, Ash, is a very flexible and modular solution for a multitude of applications. There's nothing that really you'd turn your head away and say, no, I can't automate that.
No.
I think what we have to, we don't have to think that the people that possibly will listen to this podcast will understand that no operator needs to have robotic programming experience, do they?
No.
If they can program the machine, then the robot is going to be, in your own words, is going to be a short batch multi-mix type of product that is going to complement that machine. They don't need to know how to program that robot. Going back to your question earlier, the flexibility is the thing that would be something that we would be very proud of. If you're a subcontract shop and you want to put 10 different jobs on it, you're only going to be 15 minutes in between each job on the robot. You don't need to buy additional applications training from us to do different jobs, which is different from some other robotic suppliers. They'll sell you a robot, but then you've got to have the thing integrated. As Ashley said, we turn up, we leave you in an automated situation. Once Ashley's got all the information out of you as to what you want to load, what machine it is, what their recommendations is, leave it to us then.
Yeah.
We'll do the rest.
Well, where do you get more of your business? Retrofitting or on new machines? And why do some of these manufacturers come to you? Because they're coming to you on their new machines and then you're retrofitting. So what do you sell more of? And then the second question. Maybe.
I'd say 60% retrofit.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more than new, because all the machine, that is our biggest market, if you like, because the machines are there. They're creating the product that people want to automate. So they know that I've got this range of parts and I want to be able to automate all of that. But I've already got my machining strategies in place. So all we need to do is implement the robot to within that. So it's actually quite a quick and easy fix. But when it comes to the new machines, of course, then we can look at new drawings. We can specify new ways, maybe that the customer's going to go from a twin spindle lathe to a multitasking machine, and then instead of it being two operations, now it's one on a multitasking machine. So it's really different in how it's really varied, really interesting to what we look at. But I would say the biggest market is that retrofit, because you think about buying another machine and you think probably more about another head count, whereas the retrofit market isn't the case. Yeah. And if you're producing the parts on a machine that you've already got, not trying to talk people out of buying new machines, but if you've got the machines in place,
spindle,
yeah, totally, yeah. If you're running a single shift and there's another 10 hours left in the day, why
not use it? And so why are these manufacturers still going to you? Because you've named a few brands that you sold 3 machines into, which I know do some varieties of automation. So why are they coming over to you guys?
Can I answer that? Yeah. My opinion on this, and it is just my opinion, it may be wrong, is we're realists when it comes to the sales engineers. Okay, regardless of, not all of them, because as you said earlier, some of the OEM companies that we work with are developing their own automation systems. However, a great deal of those sales engineers that are out there sell a huge, great wide range of single spindle machines, multitasking machines, twin spindles, some really, really high-end equipment. They've got to learn an awful lot. They're experts on their own machines. Yes. When it comes to peripheral equipment, especially with robots, those sales engineers have gone through the same learning process to some extent as Ashley has. That to sell a robot, it's not like selling a bar feed, which is one product that suits all. Yeah. You've got to go in and you've got to meet with that customer. You've got to see his range of parts. Will the robot lift it? Who's going to fit the auto door? Can it put it in 2 at a time? Can it turn it round? Does he want a turnover station? Would you like it on a pallet load to an unload? We think from point of inquiry to sale, there's 5 visits. Now, again, being realistic, none of the sales engineers particularly, and I know I'm generalising and that's dangerous to do so, but none of them particularly want to have 5 visits to sell peripheral equipment.
Yeah. No, they won't.
It's easier for that sales engineer to say, Ashley, meet me on such and such site and give me advice on that. Yeah. They will still get the sale, but the peripheral equipment is given to a local supplier, which is why I think they do it.
Yeah.
And
leave it to the specialists.
Yes, it's good for us to do. It's good business for us.
Knowledge and experience is key. Now, I want to be moving on to the bar feeder solutions shortly because we're running out of time.
Sorry, we went rogue.
Before we go rogue, I've got a question for you.
Too late,
Gio. Oh gosh, you've got a question for me.
And the final question for you, Ashley, really on the Robo Job, and that is, Ash, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned over the last few years in regards to, automating?
It's not as difficult as you think it might be. It genuinely isn't as difficult as you think it might be. I think, again, years ago, I think we said at the start of COVID, robotics is seen as a real technical, difficult, high-level skill. And yes, being a robotics engineer isn't something you can become overnight. But now the interface and the front-facing interface software that you use has simplified it completely. It's not intimidating.
So you're taking the fear out of it, Ash.
Totally.
Now, Lyndsey, before we move on to the long bar feeder, what have you learnt about the Robo Job today?
Yes, Lyndsey.
Oh gosh, a lot. In fact, I think my points were more kind of what you said, Ash, is the fact that you want to install the machine. You, as soon as it's in, you want to help. So not so much about the actual product, but what I really like is the fact that you're willing to put yourself in the boots of the person who's using it and let them cut metal. And I think for me, knowing that you've got that as the support behind that product is priceless when someone's looking to inquire, because they don't want to learn the ins and outs of it. They want their life to be made far easier, and they want to make more money. And you were saying you can put margin back in the product. And that's what and when you said labor free, these little kind of sayings that you said have kind of resonated with me, because I'm like, okay, that's ultimately what they want to do. Simple. They want their job to be made simpler, and that's your job to do it. And so I think for me, that's, this loads more, obviously, the versatility of these products and stuff.
We've always maintained that kind of ethos here at Hydrafeed. We have tried to make that, whether it's whatever our product is, make it easy for our customers. Yeah. Just give us the details, and then we'll sort it for you.
Maximising productivity and profitability. Martyn, we ain't got long left on the bar feeders.
Okay,
I want to kind of focus now on the long bar feeders and the short bar feeders. You've evolved from the short bar feeders. Now you've got another offering in the long bar feeder. Can you tell our listeners about the 2 solutions that you offer?
I don't think evolution is the right word. We haven't evolved, but we recognise the fact that so for a number of years we have been looking to offer a full-length magazine bar feed to complement our short ones. What we've tried to do over the past few years with the Robo Job agreement is that we wanted to expand our product range, but to keep it within the niche that we hope we're good at, which is machine tool automation, so that we can robot load, turning, milling, short magazine bar feed. We have a parts accumulator, a rotary parts accumulator. The thing that's always been missing from our portfolio was a good full-length magazine bar feed. Yes, you know yourself that there's a couple out there, but there's no way on God's earth that we were ever going to go after them. They're tied up with good agents themselves. But we were seeing an increase for companies coming to us that wanted to run full-length magazine bar feeds on fixed-head machines. And as a result, we were approached by Top Automazioni in Italy. We visited. It's an incredibly good piece of kit. And when we started talking to them about the unique points of that bar feed, it was a no-brainer for us to take it on. We've sold I don't know, 15-ish of them since we've had the agency. We've had no issues with them whatsoever. And again, it all boils down to the same thing as we're talking about, regardless of the product, maximising spindles uptime. These pieces of equipment break from the traditional having to buy different guide channel sets, which is their biggest unique selling point. If you can change a bar in a minute from one bar size to another, rather than having to spend a considerable amount of money on a new guide channel set and then have that machine down for an hour, that's what people like. They weigh 2.5 tons. They're built to absorb the bar vibration. Some companies want to run hugely longer bars than the headstock would safely allow on a short magazine bar feed. So the fact that we can offer a full length type to cater for 2 metre, 3 metre, 4 metre or 6 metre pretty much covers the full range of bar lengths available. We can offer systems that where you can either manually load the bar in, or if it's on a big 80, 100 mil bar machine, the bars can simply be put in the front and lifted and loaded in that way. It was all about offering another level of automation to our customers. And we've got a number of quotes out now that we expect to come to good. We've got 2 more going in next month. COVID has had a big effect on us through not selling more, because we want to gain that technical expertise to the next level before we begin to approach some sliding head companies. We've been approached by sliding head companies and I'm holding them off to some extent because
it's your reputation.
Yes.
You just want to make sure that
I'm sure it would do, and it would do the job well, but I'm not going to jeopardise anything for the sake of a bar feed sale.
For our listeners, the videos, that a technical corner on the long bar feeder you can find on the MTDCNC platform. So please go and look at that video for a real great technical review on the product from Martyn. Lyndsey and I have done a review on the long bar feeder today that should be on the MTDCNC platform. It should be coming shortly. Just going to throw a question to you, Ash. Obviously, you're going to see customers about automation, not a Robo Job or a lathe, but do you get involved at all in the bar feeder side of the business, or is your focus predominantly just on the Robo Job? And are you receiving inquiries now for both? Because now it's not, I offer a Robo Job, we offer automation.
Yeah, spot on, mate. So we've done lots and lots of installs where you bar feed in and robot unloads the finished parts. So we're doing both, where the remnant might be taken out by the robot as well from the bar feed. So yeah, it's about, that machine is capable of anything. So you've got a robot in front of it for billets, castings, forgings, castings, whatever it might be. And then you've got the bar feed in it for bars. So that machine is effectively capable of anything. So
I loved going to Darren's place at High Spec, and he was just like, I love sitting here. And he's in his office, and he said, I just look across now and I can see my machines, they're making me money and I don't even need to get up. And before he'd have to be loading and all of this lot. And now he's invested in I don't think there's a machine that he's got that doesn't have automation on now as well.
Perfect.
Just a point to make. You said something quite funny earlier about how many short bar feeds you're selling a week. What was the statement that you made, Martyn? Should we not make that one?
I'm not telling you.
It was a lot, I'll tell you that. It was a lot.
We are no way am I sitting here to try and turn people off of our core business. There will always be a need here in the UK for short magazine bar feeds.
They sell a lot.
What a great podcast. We're on 35 minutes, nearly 36 minutes, and we could talk for another 35 minutes, I'm sure. Just a few last points, really. Lyndsey, firstly, what did you like about the long bar feeder? Because we've just reviewed it.
Well, I just like the changing of the sizes. For me, when you've explained to me how long it would take someone, it's a bit of a dirty job, and now health and safety and all of that plays into it.
Yeah.
You're just going to save yourself time, you're making money, and you're looking after your staff members.
And Martyn, we've still got to go and do that trip in Italy at some point in the future.
Yes,
I'm looking
Martyn.
forward to that.
Well, you two can fight that out in the car
August
park
would be
when
a
this is
nice
finished
one.
as to who's coming with me. But
And Martyn, any last points from you?
I don't think so. Thank you. It's been interesting having you in and you giving us an impartial overview of what you've found down there. It's very interesting listening to your findings, and none of us are arrogant here that we don't learn and listen from other people, and it's it's good to talk about the product. We don't do it, do we?
No.
Not with one another. We overlap from time to time on our projects. You put a bar, I put a bar feed on the back of it, and you put a robot on the front of it, but we don't sit and talk about our product range together very often.
Not over dinner on a Sunday night, no? Is that not the best topic ever?
Banned.
Ash, any last thoughts from you?
Not really. I mean, just give us a shout if you want to automate, or because we'll give you an honest answer. It might be the robots that we've got or the bar feeds we've got aren't the right solution, but we'll be honest and tell you.
Yeah, well, I could imagine coming round your house for dinner. I could imagine, a conveyor belt in the kitchen and it all being automated.
Then you would be very disappointed, Gio.
Chicken getting in, turned over, brought back out again, roasted both sides.
It might be Ashley's house, but it certainly wouldn't be my house.
It's been an absolute pleasure, guys, and congratulations on the fantastic job that you've been doing automating the UK. And I'm sure that it's going to be successful, even more successful, moving forward. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. If you've got any comments or thoughts, don't forget to message us. You can message Hydrafeed directly for any questions or inquiries that you may have. And if you want to be part of a future podcast, just get in touch with MTD. Until next week, the MTD podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.